Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And today, again, it seems like we're doing a lot of these. Today is another sad day in the world of gaming. And most of you, I'm sure, already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that Disney, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to do away with LucasArts gaming. Game studio, gaming, whatever. I believe it's LucasArts. It could be LucasArts Productions, I'm not sure. But I know it's LucasArts. Now, for young people out there, and when I say young people, I'm talking about teenagers. If I have any subscribers or anybody that sees this that is a young person, you may not have a whole lot of memory of anything that LucasArts has really done, with the exception of a connection, of course, with Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is the MMO that's currently out and being played. But other than that, you may not have a whole lot of a memory of them. However, for people of my age, and even people in their 30s, etc., LucasArts made some of the greatest video games of all time. And it will go down in the history of gaming as there are certain titles that will always be, when they do those top 100 video games of all time lists, there's some LucasArts titles that will always be in that top 100. Number one that I can think of is X-Wing versus X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Anybody that's ever, when you watch Star Wars as a kid or anything, and you thought, man, how cool would it be to fly, a TIE Fighter or an X-Wing or whatever? Well, that game was as close as any of us are ever going to get to being able to do that. It was the space combat in that game was that good. And then they ended up importing that technology, that coding and everything from X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. They put that into Star Wars Galaxies, which you can see here. I've got, and I'm going to get to that later. But there was an expansion called Jump to Lightspeed for Star Wars Galaxies, which basically added space combat to that game. And they basically took the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter model and the tech, and all that, and put it right into that game. So you could basically get a TIE Fighter, get all these different ships. There's a whole lot that goes into that. But anyway, so the bottom line is that's one title. Grim Fandango will probably be, the Tales from Monkey Island. As far as adventure games goes, this and Tales from Monkey Island, and they even had a couple of Indiana Jones adventure games that were really good. But the list goes on and on. I mean, I've got Outlaws, Full Throttle. I mean, for older people like me, just me showing this stuff is probably bringing back flashbacks, going, oh, God, that was another good one. That one was good, too. Yeah, you're right. They were. They were really good. And then, that's just some of the adventure games that I'm talking about there. Then you got into the whole first-person shooter in the Star Wars universe games that they did. Starting with Dark Forces, going on to Jedi Knight. And Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2, is another one of those titles that'll probably be in the top 100 for Infinity, because it was that good. I mean, it has one of the highest ratings, I believe, that PC Gamer ever gave a game. I believe it's still way up there somewhere. So, for me, the fact that Disney just kind of arbitrarily said, well, we're just going to do away with LucasArts. I understand that they run the way they run their businesses, and believe me, I know for a couple of different reasons. Because I had the Walt Disney Company was a client of mine when I was in the contract security business. I was a branch manager, and I provided security officers for the entertainment industry, and I had the Walt Disney account. I had all the Disney stores nationwide. They would call my office. My scheduler would call the local branch office, wherever it was. It could be Shreveport, Louisiana, whatever. And we did the scheduling and the billing for all the Disney stores nationwide. So I do have a connection, and I do know how Disney runs its businesses. And so I'm not shocked at all by the decision. I just feel that it's probably a lot of bean counters, accountants, people like that, making the decision as opposed to some creative executives who could say, what could we do, now that we own the Star Wars franchise and all these other things, what could we do with the LucasArts name, with the studio? What kind of things could we produce? What kind of games? If we brought in really good talent and decided we're gonna change the gaming industry going forward, we're gonna come out with some groundbreaking stuff. They could have taken that approach. They got the money. If no one else has the money, they do. I mean, they could have done that and said, we're going to hire some really good people. We're going to come out with games. And of course, they could have integrated the console market and said, whatever games we're going to produce them across platforms. We're going to have them for, Xbox, PlayStation, Wii, whatever. They could have, there's all kinds of things they could have done with the LucasArts names and the talent that LucasArts had. Now, I don't know if they have the talent they had back when they were doing games like this, but maybe they do. And if they don't, they could have recruited them. So, for me, it's a sad day because, I have one of these binders here that I got years ago when I first started playing LucasArts games, and this is my LucasArts folio of all. That's all that's in here. I can go through X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, TIE Fighter Wars, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Dark Forces. They even had, a lot of people don't know this, they had these two right here, Behind the Magic. This was basically, it wasn't even a game really, it was discs that showed you deleted scenes and the technology, all the blueprints, all that stuff from the Star Wars franchise. And I'm glad I've got it because I can always load it up and look at blueprints, whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. Shadows of the Empire, Rebel Assault, the Indiana Jones, Monkey Island. It just goes on and on. And yeah, there were a few that were not really good and failed, but they were few and far between. Most of the stuff that LucasArts did back in the day was really good. So, let's not forget Knights of the Old Republic. Of course, that was a BioWare game, but it was, it was under the LucasArts name, of course. But anyway, so sad day from my standpoint, and so I just wanted to, in this video, I just wanted to take time to thank the creative people that were involved with LucasArts back in the day. When this stuff was being put out, the creative people, the artists, the writers, the game designers, all those types of people, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart because some of my favorite memories in gaming came because of LucasArts. So and the people that work there. So and having said that, that leads me into my final topic today, which is my favorite game of all time, of any type. Probably my favorite game of all is Dungeons and Dragons, old-fashioned paper and pencil. But if we're talking video games, my favorite game of all time is right here, Star Wars Galaxies. As far as I'm concerned, it was the greatest MMO ever made. it was one of the greatest games ever made, for people that wanted a sandbox and just wanted to explore and do their own thing, and it was fantastic. And so I have not one, but two collector's editions. Collector edition moron, don't forget that. So, and I will take a moment just to share with you guys some of the goodies that came in this. And I'm sure now they're definitely going to be collector's editions, or not collector's editions. They're going to be collectibles, highly collectible, because now that LucasArts is gone, this game is long gone and everything. But for people that collect Star Wars stuff, there's some pretty cool stuff in here, like the art book. Of course, the standard art book you get in most of the collector's editions. This one's looks like 128 or 130 pages. Good old Darth Vader, of course. I gotta throw him in there. But you got a cool patch. So I have two of these, so I can put one on a jacket or something like, which I plan to do, and still have another one to keep in one of these boxes. You got a kind of a, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but you got kind of a cool pin, Star Wars Galaxies pin, and it's got the Rebel and the Imperial symbol on them. You even got a pewter figure, and I believe it's hard to see it on video, of course, but that is a looks like a female I want to say it's a Transdoshan. It's hard to tell, but that's my guess. And then, of course, you got the books, and here's something that you don't hardly see anymore because everything's going digital. But when you had your old, rule books and all that, and this one, because it's a collector's edition, has the digit, the sign pen thing of all the developers and all that stuff on it. But back in the day, this was really nice because it had this kind of a spine on there where you could lay the book flat. And it seems like a little thing, but when you're talking about a book that's, I don't know, 200 pages, and you're looking up something and you're learning something about the game and you're playing it, and how nice is it just be able to lay it flat so you can read it instead of one that has a spine on it, and you can't do that, So it seems like a little thing, but that was awful nice to have that. And then, of course, the coup de grace, which was the discs, and this one still sealed. Didn't even open it. I just needed the code off the back because I was upgrading one of my. I already had an account, and I wanted to upgrade it to the collector's edition. So I have the discs still sealed, and everybody says, "Oh, well, what good are those? The game's not around anymore." There's for those of you who don't know, there's a project called the Star Wars Galaxies EMU, for emulator. And you can do some searching around there use your Google Foo if you're interested. And there are some people that have been working for years to basically bring this game back from abandonware, because the game was abandoned and everything, and all they're taking is the original code, the original information that people saved on their hard drives as they played the game. So when they knew that Star Wars Galaxies was going away, they had people start to save data on their hard drives as they were playing, and they're using that. They're not using the Star Wars. They're not using anything that anybody owns. They're taking it all from the data that they were able to collect as people played, and they are line by line rewriting their own code, their own game, to basically emulate the Star Wars Galaxies game. That's how popular it really was. And there's thousands of people out there that are going on to the test servers and are testing this. I'm one of them. I don't go on as much as a lot of people do, because it's hard for me to invest and spend a lot of time into a character that I know is just going to get wiped. But nevertheless, I do go on there and I do test some stuff out and put in bug reports and all that kind of stuff. So the only way that anybody that if they ever want to play that is they have to have the original discs, and they have to install them just like you would back when this game was live, and then they can use the launcher from the emulator to go in and start playing what has the newly written stuff. But if you don't have the discs, it won't work. So if you look these up on Amazon or whatever to find the original discs of Star Wars Galaxies, they're kind of pricey, and that's the reason why people want to be able to play the emulator, and they've got to have the original discs to do that. And I've got a few copies of the discs, and I've even got one still sealed. So anyway, thank you to all the LucasArts people over the years that did all this stuff. And there's, by the way, if you're interested, and there's a lot of those old adventure games that you didn't play that you're interested in on Steam, there are a lot of these titles, the LucasArts titles, the Monkey Island stuff. There's a couple of the Indiana Jones games, and there's one called Loom, and there's one called The Dig. Great adventure games from way back in the day, but the graphics aren't important. They're a little bit old in the graphic style, but that's not the point, because the story and everything else is what draws you in to play the game. So if you're so inclined, you can go onto Steam, type LucasArts, and those titles are still available, and they're really cheap. So anyway, that was all I wanted to say for this video. We will catch you guys on the flip side.